Yeah, hi there. These comments are for AA. I'm using your initials for privacy purposes, and you completed the pronunciation pretest for vowel and consonant sounds. And you are my TOEFL speaking and writing bootcamp student. And right now I'm actually going to listen to part A of your pretest. And then I'll listen to part B, and then I'll give you some comments. So let's see how you go.
Honor, over, father. Lesson number 7.
All right.
Hot, good, wrong, grow, honor, over, father, throw.
Okay, the problem in lesson 7 is that second sound, the boat, grow, over, though. You're not making that sound long enough, so you want to focus on lesson 7.
Lesson 8. Pet, pot, map,
Okay.
move, tick, tock, and, on, make, knock.
Okay, mac, tack, map, pat. So you can probably focus on we call it the ash vowel sound. That's lesson number 8.
Lesson 9. Right, round, right, lie, loud, loyal, pie, proud.
Okay?
Lesson 10. Get, get, lead, let, meet, met, lead, let, din.
So again, it's a long vowel sound. So with the A, gate, late, mate, blade, bled, dane, den. You just need to make that the longer sound just a little bit longer than what you're doing there. So I think that's something you can work on.
Lesson 11. Meet, met, Peter, pet.
And Pete's it's just one syllable, not two. So Pete, pit.
Met, Peter, pet, leave, let, seat, set, heat, head.
And again, it's the long vowel sound that you have more trouble with. So in this one, E, meet, Pete, leap, seat, heat. So you have to make that sound a little bit longer.
Lesson 12. Look, 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 talk, tool, salt, cold, cool.
So the problem here in lesson 12 is differentiating between the word look, luck, look, luck. So just those two sounds you got to work on.
Lesson 13. Match, mesh, sheep, sheep.
No, cheap, sheep.
Feather, feather.
No, feature, fisher. Feature, fisher. That's what you're kind of looking at there. Hold on, give me 1 second. Come on in. I'd like to give you a second.
Shaft, shaft, shear, shear.
Now, I think in this one, the CH and the SH sound, trying to differentiate with these two consonants is a little bit hard for you here. So that's lesson number 13.
Lesson 14. Off, have, fine, vine, fan, van, wafer, waver.
Okay.
Lesson 15.
The one thing I'm going to tell you here is the V, this is a fricative voice consonant. Now when you put that voice consonant at the end of the word, the vowel before the sound will be a little longer. So if you take these two words, you say half, have, right? So in that case, you'll say have, you'll say that word a little bit longer because it ends in a voice consonant, but half, it's an F, which is a voiceless fricative consonant, so the vowel will be shorter before that consonant.
How, habit, who, rehash, behavior, hate, Batman, mitten, important, brightening, hit track, threatened.
Okay, this is not a major thing, but we have a glottal stop in English. It's when that T's in the middle of the word. Americans tend not to pronounce that sound. So instead of saying bitten, a lot of Americans will say bitten. Instead of saying Batman or important or brightening, they'll say Batman, bitten, important, brightening, hat rack, and threatened. So even if you don't pronounce it or pronounce that flap, it's not a major, or the glottal stop, it's not a major issue. It just, you're speaking more of a British English, but I'd like you to at least review the glottal stop so you can get familiar with it, and at least you can recognize it when you hear other people use it.
Lesson 16. Measure, measure, fragile, phrasal, legend, legend, engine.
Now having some trouble there. So legend, lesion. That palatal consonant, that lesion.
Azure, large, edgy. Lesson 17. Cake, kick, sink, sank, came, game, cap, gap, lake, lug.
Again, you got to remember that rule I was telling you a minute ago. So if the voiceless consonant's at the end of the word, now voiceless means there's no vibration in the vocal folds when you produce a sound. The vowel before that's going to be a little shorter. When a voice consonant's at the end of the word, that just means the vocal folds are kind of held together to create a vibrating type sensation. The vowel's going to be longer. So in this case, you have cake, keg, sink, sag, lake, lag. So you have to kind of make a difference in the duration of how long you pronounce those vowels when they precede either voiceless or voice consonants.
Lesson 18. Lean, rear, better, luggage, ruggage, other, right, light, committed. Lesson 19. Bass, bass, flap, flap, cap, cap.
Now you're doing the same thing. So again, this P and B, the P's a voiceless consonant, the B's a voice consonant. So you have flap, flab, cap, cab.
Lap, lap.
See, I can't even distinguish what you're saying. It sounds like you're saying lap, lap. But it's lap, lab. So you got to make sure you change the duration of the vowel before those voice consonants. That's going to help you with your intelligibility.
Pay, pay. Lesson 20. Lies, lease, sip, zip, so.
That first word,
So.
lice, lies.
Maze, maze.
Mace, maze.
Lisa, Teresa. Lesson 21. Multiple, orbit, example, pressure, principle, number, people, philosopher. Lesson 22. Mechanism, written, maximum, question, summer, reason.
Okay, good.
Chess, often. Lesson 23. Tip, dip, guard, guard, tight, tight.
Again, it's tight, tied, cart, card. We're following that same principle, so you got to be careful what comes at the end of the word because that can influence the vowel which comes before.
train, drain, fat, fat, team, dream. Lesson 24. Tight, thigh, breath, wreath, teeth, teeth.
You're not quite getting it. You have the interdental consonant. Either it's a voiceless or voiced sound, right? So thigh, thy. Breath, breathe.
Throat, thought, worth,
And that word there is through and then though. Worth, worthy.
Part P. What is your educational background and your work history?
All right, so you're going to tell me a little bit about yourself. This is good. Now, the reason I like you to answer these questions, there's really a couple of reasons why I do this. First of all, I want to learn about you and know who you are. I mean, you're one of my students online, so this gives me good information. I can understand your situation, your goals, why speaking and pronunciation is important to you. But also, it gives me further information about your speaking abilities. How well do you control your grammar, your vocabulary, your delivery? Can you give examples to help explain your more general type ideas? So this also gives me really good information in that area too. In fact, as you're answering these questions, I'm going to figure out what your intelligibility and speaking score is on a scale of 1 to 7. Now 7 is a native speaker, and then 1 would be a beginner of English. So I'm going to kind of figure out where you are right now.
Actually, I am graduated from Faculty of Pharmacy in 2003.
Let's go back to what you just said there.
Teeth, throat, thought, worth. Part P. What is your educational background and your work history? Actually, I am graduated from faculty.
Yeah, most native speakers are not going to say, I am graduated from. They would probably say either I am a graduate from, which means you're using graduate as a noun and not a verb, or I graduated from such and such university. To me, the simple past works well here. When you're talking about an action, the graduating thing, it happened in the past. There's a beginning and end there, so the simple past is going to work better, I think, than what you did here.
Of pharmacy in 2003, and I have been here in the United States for more than 4 years, and I work now as an Uber driver. I worked before as a pharmaceutical management in my own pharmacy.
Okay.
Question.
Think about that for a minute now. You become a pharmacist here in the United States. I mean, you're not going to be doing any more Uber driving. You're going to be making $150,000 a year. Right? So I know what you're doing here. You got to get that speaking up. You got to clear your pharmacy credential, and bam, that's when you start making the big money, right? So you can do this, right? Small investment, we can get this thing done, you can pass the test. You got some work ahead of you, but you definitely can do this.
So, what is important for you to improve your speaking and pronunciation ability of American English?
Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you here, honestly, it sounds like you're at a funeral. Your tone, very kind of melancholy. You're not varying your tone at all. You got to put some emotion into the voice. You're not dead. We're not dead. We're alive. Show me some emotion here when you're speaking, right? That's another thing you're going to have to work on. Now, I got all kind of lessons. I can help you in many areas, but write this down. You definitely want to work on your intonation. This is going to be important for you.
It's very important for me because as I mentioned before, I work now as an Uber driver. So if I pass my TOEFL test, that will help me a lot to achieve my goal to be a pharmacist here in the United States.
Think about that. You're an Uber driver going to be a pharmacist. Are you kidding me? You're going to get to the top income bracket of the U.S. One of them, right?
I think pronunciation also is very important to communicate with my patients. Especially I want to work as a pharmacist, and consultation is one of the most important part of my career.
Exactly. Now the P, you're almost saying the most important part of my career, but you got to produce that P with more air coming out of your mouth. Now remember too, as a pharmacist, guess what? You're going to be working with old people, elderly people, people 60, 70, 80, whatever, and they don't hear so well. So you're going to have to make sure that you need to have even better pronunciation and speaking than most international students or visitors or people living here in the States, because you want these elderly people to be able to understand what you're saying.
Question number 3. What is your hope to achieve in this course? I hope to achieve 26 in speaking, and I want to improve my pronunciation and my communication skills.
All right, so 26. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. So you have to have very clear, natural sounding pronunciation. You have to have very strong command of vocabulary and grammar. You need to be able to organize and develop ideas with specific, rich, telling detail. So you got a lot of stuff you got to do, right? So it's going to take some time. Okay, now thank you for telling me all this information. Now the next step is, let's take a look at the intelligibility scale. I'm looking at it right now. So high beginner is 1.1, 7 is a native speaker. For you, I'm going to put you at about 4.0 out of 7. So intermediate level with your speaking. You're comfortable speaking, but sometimes your grammar, your language use choices maybe aren't always the best. Like I am a graduate, or I am graduated from. I mean, most native speakers wouldn't say it that way. You definitely got to work on your tone, maybe your pacing, and a few other areas. And remember, I just gave you a list of things you want to study in the vowel and consonant sounds of my website, right? So lesson number 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 19, 20, 23, and also lesson number 24. Alright, so what do you do now? You start going through all those lessons. I even recommend read out loud with me as you're going through those videos and start doing more speaking practice. Send me more speaking, and I will continue to give you comments. And as you do speaking practice tests on my website, I'll become more familiar with the kinds of problems that you might be having with your grammar issues. Alright? Okay, thank you.